Welcome back to the Loud and Quiet podcast. I'm Stuart Stubbs, and this is part 2 of my conversation with Patrick Wolf. Having heard from Patrick in part 1 about how tough things have been over the last 13 years, we're going to now get into a time that was a little bit happier and a little bit more exciting for him when he was starting out making music in the early to mid 2000s. His first 2 albums, like Lycanthropy and Wind in the Wires, were very DIY affairs whereby he did everything on those records himself. And Patrick at that time wanted to make everything feel as expensive as it possibly could, even though he didn't have any money. He learnt to code in HTML to make himself a website that made it look like he had a big label behind him, and he started shooting his own videos on Super 8 just so he could get shown on MTV2. But things really stepped up for him in 2007 when he signed a major record deal with Polydor for his 3rd album, The Magic Position. All of a sudden he had 250 grand to spend on videos and was zipping around London in company cars. He had a similar experience in 2011 on his 5th album, Lupercalia, which was released for another major record deal with Mercury Records. Did you enjoy that period, the major label period?
Yeah. I knew I had a sense that it might not be for with my ideas and their budget. I think I kind of realized we are creating a beautiful ship to sail once, maybe. That's going to go down legendarily, in the Atlantic. And both times I got signed to a major, I felt that. So
the second time, did you think, the first time you did it and you thought, let's ride this until it runs out?
The first time I did it, I thought this was my moment, like Kate Bush being signed to EMI, like a long-term relationship that would be, creative control, and because I had all that on the contract, creative control, all this stuff, it means nothing. It just means more arguments and more compromise, and a strong arming. I always got what I wanted across the line, but it was exhausting, First time around, I thought it was a long-term relationship, and I was really shocked when it ended. And the second time around, I was like, "Get everything you can. Like this is a bank raid."
Yeah.
Because it could happen again. And I wanted things to turn out differently, of course. But basically, what happened with Crying the Neck was I own 3 of my back catalogues: the Lycanthropy, Wind in the Wires, The Bachelor, Sundark and Riverlight. That's 4. So basically I used the masters of that, I relicensed to Virgin for a period of time. With that advance, then I paid for Crying the Neck. So I had like this budget, and I was like, well, when it came down to it, because these are very small budgets really, it was like, well, it's either going to, basically it came up to, we'd done all the numbers, and it was like, either I get to fulfill my musical ambition with it, which was for me to be doing my own string arrangements again, and to really work to work with a string octet, and to record all that really beautifully, and for there to be no fake instruments on this record. I could either do that and afford that, or have a budget for marketing and music videos. So I was like, well, how about there's no marketing, no music videos, but I get it to sound exactly the way I need it to. So I took that decision. And then I was like, with my manager, it's like, well, we'll just tell everybody there's no marketing budget, so don't expect it to be successful, and don't expect to hear about it. And it's like, the more we were saying, it's like, this sounds so mental, but it because it's also, it's dedicated to my mother and her passing. And so I was like, well, you only get 1 album to pay tribute really to your mother, so it needs to sound exactly the way it needs to look the way. So I dreamed it up. So working with artists that I wanted to work with came in on the budget, and so we got it to look the way I wanted it to and sound the way I wanted it to. But beyond that, we're like, no, we just tell people there's no music videos, and then when it comes I delivered the album in December, and then January, the first question is, so when's the music video? Where is it? And these are people that have invested money, and you just can't get, you can't not, it's like, even like Apple Music want like a moving front cover, like Spotify they won't prioritize you in the algorithm unless you've delivered a moving image for your song. And so you're already starting to have to make moving images for your work. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to I have to be music video director now. And so it's exactly what I was doing on the first two albums.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned earlier, it feels different because I'm being asked to do it.
Yeah.
And that's definitely, there's a undying petulant bone in my body, which makes
Absolutely.
Me well, but I've overcome that because I'm a professional now, and I have dived headfirst back into Final Cut Pro. But I'm astonished at the amount of content that is expected of us now. It's wild. Yeah.
Having done that, having been like done it everything yourself, signed to majors, now back doing it this way, would you choose to sign to a major again if you could?
There are two concerns I would have. It would be that you lose your album ever having any rights over it. So, you sign a contract which is in perpetuity for the universe. So if they colonize Mars, then they have the rights to Mars, So it's like, it's very like, you'll never see anything. So people keep saying, oh, can I have, when are you going to press the magic position on vinyl? I can't ever make that decision. I can't.
Does that drive you mad? Or are you okay with it?
What, the question or the fact I can't do it?
The fact that you can't do it.
I'm completely at peace with that. With the fact I can't do anything about it. Yeah, that's you can't go into that and complain about something which you signed a contract for. That's what I signed up for.
But you feel now, with a bit of distance from it, because you were very young then. You didn't feel like you were pressured into signing something that you didn't really know what you were signing, or.
No, not at all.
I knew the deal and you were fine with it.
I'd always wanted to be on a label like 4AD or 4AD. It was my dream. Yeah, but I for some reason they
didn't go for it.
They've never liked me, I think. So despite like pretty much every major, I'm probably the world's biggest His Name Is Alive fan. It's like when I was younger, I was making music that audaciously I thought should be on a major label. I was like, well, why isn't this on a major? Why isn't it got the same treatment as Girls Aloud? I end up on the same label as like Girls Aloud, and it's like, I didn't, if you looked at it from the outside, if I looked at it out, I'd be like, what are you doing there? Like, but it was a fun game to play in it, and I don't think actually I lost. I carried the magic position all the way through to the sequencing, the track listing, the production. It's an album that sounds like it shouldn't be on a major label.
Sure.
Yeah. When I delivered the album and said, and I remember sitting in a boardroom like with a huge table of people, and they pressed play on the lead single, and everyone was like, well, where's the bass? Where's the bass line? And I was like, well, there's a bass clarinet. And anyway, but like, where's the low end? It's like, can we remix this? I was like, no. They're like, well, they were just so confused by the sonic, and I didn't think of twice about it at all at the time. And now I listen to it, there's no sub bass or low end or anything that would get it on capital FM, So, but there was, but because of the way the contract was, they couldn't change.
They knew that you had, that it had to be your way in the end, even if it just meant a lot of argument.
They were desperate, like, for the front cover to be different as well, and I was like, as adamant that because of the way my body posture was, I was spelling out the word Z with my legs and my arms, and that was why that was the front cover. And there was a secret message to the person it was inspired by, who was an artist called Ingrid Z. So I was like, it's like but they were desperate to have this other front cover, that they covered that front cover with their own, and like when they sent it out to people. And I didn't play ball at all the whole time. This is a photo we've got on the wall of my office
of you.
Yes,
of you.
I remember that shoot really well.
Do you? I was going to say that was with Andrew Kendall
in the Bloomsbury Hotel. Yeah,
is that where that was? I wasn't there, but
it's been turned into a that's all been gutted now. But yeah, I ended up living around the corner from there. Yeah,
I mean that's the view from my desk every day.
Oh.
Can you like? I was going to ask, do you remember not necessarily that day, but that time? But you even remember that day?
Yes, I do.
That's you've got incredible colour hair there. And that was your copper hair stage, wasn't it?
It was a Sainsbury's special. Yeah, it was Sainsbury's Forest Hill. I remember choosing that.
Are you generally? Do you mind looking at old photos of yourself, or is that has that made you feel? I feel quite anxious and ill.
Not anxious at all. No, I am really fond of whoever was muscling through at that in 2007. Like, so it's very much on my own there in the music industry. Like and culturally too. To be such an oddity at the time was quite taxing, I think, on a young person like 26 years old. And I do often wish I could go back and just pull that person aside, and talk to them and just be like, you're doing really well. Like, I'm really proud of you. And what you're doing is actually really brave,
Thank you for listening to this preview of part 2 of my conversation with Patrick Wolf. If you'd like to unlock the full episode, then please do head over to loudandquiet.substack.com, where you can sign up to not just listen to the whole of this episode, but all past and future Loud and Quiet podcast episodes. It supports this podcast, and it also supports all of the writing on our Substack, which you will also receive when you sign up.